Welcome to Crypto 101, a first principles jargon-free course on blockchain and its impact on financial services. So far in this course, we have focused on learning how cryptocurrencies function. In this lesson, we will delve into their source of intrinsic value. We can deconstruct cryptocurrencies in two dimensions. The first dimension is how they work. The second dimension is their intrinsic value. By decoupling the second dimension, we made it easier for ourselves to learn the first dimension. To use an analogy, the intrinsic value of monopoly money is not relevant to learning how the game of Monopoly is played. At this point in the course, we know cryptocurrencies can mimic the functional properties of fiat money. But why should anyone accept them as payment? This lesson is devoted to this issue. Before we go into the intrinsic value of cryptocurrencies, we will discuss the intrinsic value of traditional money. There are two models from which money has historically derived value. One is the physical asset model and the other is the government fiat model. Next, we will look at each one of them. In the physical asset model, the value of money, whether in paper or electronic form, is derived from the belief that it can be redeemed for a physical asset like gold. Next, we will see how this worked historically. Consider Alice, Bob, Tom, and Carol. They buy things from each merchant using gold coins. There are a lot of problems with physical coins. First, they are difficult to carry around and store. Imagine Tom is buying a house in another city. He has to carry a bunch of gold coins to another city. Second, they lack security as the coin holder can be robbed. Third, it is difficult for lay people to detect counterfeit coin. Fourth, people often lack the exact denominations needed to pay. To address the problem of physical coins, a bank comes into the picture. Everyone deposits their gold coins with the bank. A bank called Northern Bank issues them paper currency that is called Northern Dollar. The bank issues Northern Dollar currency to Alice, Bob, Tom, and Carol in line with the value of the gold they hold. Bob runs a coffee shop. Alice buys a coffee from him. Instead of paying gold coins, she just gives him Northern Dollars. If Bob wants, he can go to Northern Bank and redeem the paper currency for gold. But he chooses not to because it is inconvenient to carry gold coins. Alice now goes for vacation to the south of the country. But in the south no one has heard of Northern Bank. The merchants in the south don't trust that Northern Bank has any gold. Maybe they just issued paper money without any gold backing it. Now three other banks come up. The four banks, Northern, Southern, Eastern and Western banks, are located in the four parts of the country. They each issue Northern, Southern, Eastern and Western dollars respectively. For simplicity, we will assume one regional dollar is equal to 1 ounce of gold. Now Alice travels south. She pays the merchant in 100 Northern dollars. The merchant deposits the 100 Northern dollars to the Southern Bank, who gives him 100 Southern dollars in exchange. Behind the scenes, Southern Bank transfers 100 ounces of gold from its own account to the merchant's account. This means that the 100 Southern dollars the merchant has is backed by gold at the Southern Bank. Now Southern Bank hands over the Northern dollars to Northern Bank and expects 100 ounces of gold from Northern Bank. This reassures Southern Bank that it is not holding worthless pieces of paper. All goes well till one day, Southern Bank realizes that Northern Bank does not have sufficient gold. So, it has given away Southern dollars to its customer but does not have any gold in exchange for the currency given away. Going forward, trust is broken in the system. Northern dollars can no longer be used in the South. Many banks have come up in the country, each issuing its own paper money. Think of them as claim check for a coat you gave to the coat check at a bar. You can only hope that the coat exists if you redeem the claim check. But hope is not a strategy when it comes to money. The government comes in and says it alone has the power to issue currency. Instead of Northern, Southern, Western and Eastern dollars, it will issue US dollars. It will allocate US dollars to each bank in proportion to the gold each bank is holding. The government auditors come in every quarter to check whether each bank has the actual quantity of gold they claim they are having. At this point, everyone starts finding paper currency inconvenient. Consider a bank whose customer is Alice. Alice deposits 100 units gold with the bank. Historically, the bank would have issued 100 $1 currency notes to Alice. But now, instead of handing over paper currency, the bank simply makes a book entry recording that Alice has $100 in balance. Now, instead of carrying currency notes, Alice just uses her debit card. What we just described was historically known as the gold standard. The gold standard refers to the model whereby the money held by banks is redeemable for an equivalent amount of gold, if the holder of the money chose redemption. It began in the late 19th century and was the basis of the global monetary system for 100 years. In 1971, the US abandoned the gold standard. We have covered the physical asset model. The gold standard was the most successful example of this model. Next, we will review the government fiat model. The government fiat model is much simpler. Money has value because the government says so. The word fiat in English means an order by someone who has the authority to give that order. Hence, money today is called fiat money because the intrinsic source of value is derived from a government fiat. Assume Bob pays 20% of his income as taxes. Another way of saying this is that he purchases goods like national defense, roads, healthcare with 20% of his income. The government accepts payment for these goods in fiat money because after all the government itself has declared it to be money by fiat. The other 80% is spent on private merchants, who accept fiat money because they are required to do so by the government. Now, let us summarize the two sources of intrinsic value of non-crypto money. 1. It could represent claim on a physical asset like gold which has economic value. Second, it could represent the force of a government decree. We can think of money as a technological innovation that simplifies exchange of goods and services between individuals and businesses. Now that we have discussed how the intrinsic value of traditional money is derived, next, we will answer the same question for cryptocurrencies. In the world of fiat money, a country has a currency. For instance, the US has US dollars. Britain has the pound. Eurozone countries have the euro. Similarly, many, but not all blockchain platforms have a native cryptocurrency. Bitcoin blockchain's native currency is Bitcoin. Ethereum's native currency is Ether. Note the use of the adjective native. The use of the term native refers to two properties. First, is network specificity. The cryptocurrency resides within the context of specific blockchain network. For instance, Bitcoin is found on the Bitcoin network. Ether resides in the Ethereum network. The second concept is network knowledge. The blockchain network recognizes the crypto token as its native currency. Next, we will explore these concepts further. Network specificity is fairly easy to understand. Consider Alice who wants to deploy a smart contract on Ethereum. She needs to buy gas with Ether. But she has Bitcoin and no Ether. Bob has Ether. Alice can transfer Bitcoin to Bob's Bitcoin address. Bob can transfer Ether to Alice's Ethereum address. The two can decide on an exchange rate. Bitcoin cannot be stored in an Ethereum address and vice versa. The property of network knowledge will make more sense when we discuss other types of tokens like stablecoins. But for now, I will give an analogy. Consider a boarding pass stored on an Apple Wallet. The iPhone knows and understands the contents of the wallet. Alternatively, I could be storing the boarding pass within the app of an airline. In that case, the phone does not know the details of my itinerary. From the perspective of the Ethereum network, Ether is like the boarding pass in the wallet. But Ethereum can also be programmed to create other tokens like stablecoins. Stablecoins are comparable to the boarding pass in the airline app. We are now ready to answer the big question. What is the source of intrinsic value of cryptocurrencies? Many people don't believe native cryptocurrencies have any intrinsic value at all. In this course, we are not interested in resolving that debate. Rather, we are interested in learning the perspective of those who think these currencies have value. There are two broad categories of reasons ascribed to the intrinsic value of native cryptocurrencies. One category we will call the superior money argument. Second, is the blockchain economy argument. Next, we will look at each one. The superior money argument is simply this. Cryptocurrencies can perform the functions of money better than fiat currencies. Next, we will see some reasons proponents cite in support of this. I will list some of the arguments made by proponents of this view. 1. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin have a finite supply and hence are disinflationary. Their value does not erode via inflation. Second, payments, including cross-border payments, are frictionless and cheaper. Third, it is harder for governments to confiscate cryptocurrencies. This argument is appealing to those who are skeptical of the role of government in society. The above is not an exhaustive set of arguments. In this course, we are only developing an intuitive understanding of the superior money argument. The blockchain economy argument is that cryptocurrencies can be used to purchase products that exist on the blockchain economy supported by them. For instance, if Ethereum grows in popularity as a programming platform, the demand for Ether will grow. Software companies creating Ethereum-based applications and consumers transacting with Ethereum-based applications will need Ether to buy gas. For a specified supply of Ether, an increase in demand would, theoretically, raise the price of Ether. We can now summarize the arguments offered by cryptocurrency proponents on why they have intrinsic value. 1. Cryptocurrencies are superior in performing the historical functions of money. As per proponents, Just like email is the native communication medium of the internet, cryptocurrencies are the native payment method of the internet. Second, cryptocurrencies can be used to purchase products that exist on the blockchain economy supported by them. Which source of intrinsic value is more relevant depends partly on the nature of cryptocurrency itself. For instance, Bitcoin's value is more explainable by the superior money argument and Ether's more by the functional use argument. So far in this lesson, we have discussed the source of intrinsic value of cryptocurrencies. Crypto detractors say they have no value. Crypto proponents say they have value, as per the superior money and functional use arguments. But assuming crypto proponents are right, what should be the actual value in equivalent fiat currency? The nominal value of cryptocurrencies has historically been determined by demand-supply on an exchange. While prices of traditional financial assets like stocks and bonds are also revealed by the prices at which people trade them, fundamental valuation models exist for them. For instance, the nominal value of share can be determined by valuation models like discounted cash flow, though different people would arrive at different numbers based on their model assumptions. As cryptocurrencies mature as an asset class, valuation models will evolve for them. This brings us to the end of our introduction to cryptocurrencies. We covered cryptocurrencies in two dimensions. The first dimension is how they work. The second dimension is their intrinsic value. By decoupling the two, we were able to make better sense of them. At this point in the course, we are ready to move on to other crypto assets apart from cryptocurrencies. But before that, review the summary of this lesson. See you shortly on the other side.